I want to shed some light on why people that have a really traumatizing past, maybe from childhood, or maybe they have really traumatizing past relationship experiences, why they're always in a toxic relationship and why they won't seem to leave. Now, obviously, if you can, I know some people are in situations where they can't just walk away. But for those that are in a position where they could leave, and no matter what that person keeps doing, they keep sticking around for the abuse, right? It's like they're a glutton for punishment, right? Or they do leave those relationships, but they always wind up in a pattern, repeat cycle of toxic relationships from one toxic person to the next. And see, to understand this, you have to understand what trauma is itself. Trauma is a deeply stressing or disturbing experience. Keywords: deeply stressing or disturbing. Those are very important because you have to understand how your brain is wired. Your brain is wired to keep you alive. It's not built to help you thrive. It's only designed to keep you alive. That's its primary function, primary focus, so you can still be here to live the wonderful life you want to live. And so it does this best by focusing on your biggest pain points, your biggest fears, your biggest concerns, the things that can stand to harm you the most. It will see it, identify it, and blow it up. Now, where this brain function meets trauma is whenever you go through a really traumatic event, your brain locks on to that event because the signals go off, right? Uh-oh, there's pain. There's some sort of hurt going on here, something that feels dangerous. And so it flips on its radar and it blows up that moment huge and puts it on the front page of your mind to make sure you do not forget it, to make sure it has your attention, and to make sure you focus on it because it could stand to harm you and make it to the point that you may not be here anymore. Understand, your brain's not focused on if the pain you're experiencing is life-threatening or not. It just understands it's hurtful, it's painful, and in a very simple formula, pain, enough of it over time, in your brain equals death, not being here. Why? Because for thousands and thousands of years, right, our brains had to be aware of things that might harm you because you might not actually survive. If you went through pain back in the day, it might mean you're going through something that's really life-threatening, right? So your brain only knows the pain itself. It doesn't care what the source of it is coming from is. The thing that's changed is we have society now to where things are a little more cookie cutter and we don't have to worry about all the wild things out there that might harm us and, take us out of here. So your brain still has the same functionality to focus on the pain points and the fear things, but now it's shifted over from having to focus on life-threatening things, and the new pain and fear it focuses on is social dynamics, relationships, that emotional and internal hurt. But it registers it all the same way. There's no difference for your brain, right? Now, why this is so important is whenever your brain blows up that event, because it was deep enough, deep in here enough for you, hit home enough, you start to identify with the trauma. You start to self-identify with your past painful events because your mind says you have to understand this must be a part of us in some way to make sure you never forget it. So you can always be aware of it. You can always navigate life to make sure it doesn't continue to harm you. But what happens when we do this? It puts us in this real defensive way of living instead of living in our true authentic selves. Then we start operating in a way, living life in a way that will always honor that trauma. Because that's how you self-identify. You will always act in accordance to how you self-identify. So whatever you believe about yourself, whatever you believe to be true about you now, as a result of different events in the past and all that, you are bound to do the things around you to support making sure your reality matches what you believe about you. So if whatever happened in those past traumatic experiences said to you that either you weren't enough or all people, all men or all women are evil, right? Or no one's ever loved you, all those kind of things that past painful experiences told you, you self-identify with it. And now your subconscious makes sure you will operate in a way to do things, either self-sabotage yourself or go create things to make sure the world around you matches your internal belief about you as a result of what you went through. And so this is why that person that has a traumatic past, that's in this toxic relationship with this person that's really either mentally, physically, verbally abusive, whatever the case is, they won't leave them. They keep sticking around for the punishment, right? Because on some level, deep down from that traumatic experience, their self-identity is tied to it now. They feel I'm deserving of this in some way, right? For some reason, this is what normal is supposed to look like for me. Even though on the surface, their conscious mind, their intellect knows this doesn't make sense because it's hurtful, right? It's painful. And your brain's conflicted because it's saying, well, shoot, this is pain. We need to get away from this, but your identity's tied to it. So it also wants you to stay. It's a real unhealthy, twisted figure eight kind of situation going on. And I say figure eight because that's the trail your emotions goes on through this roller coaster when you're in this toxic situation and you have these past traumas, right? You go through spaces of being really sad and hurting down, right? And you're trying to figure all that out, but that feels depowering and you get sick and upset for being that way. Then you get angry and upset and you try to rise up for yourself. You start getting more challenging to that person that you're in this relationship with. You start fighting for yourself. You get up to a high, but then you can't stay angry for too long because we live off of a positive, healthy, loving frequency, and negative vibrations is like anger are not sustainable. And so then you come back down and you crash into being sad again. And you do this whole loop all over again, right? And it just keeps on happening. But that's because you feel that you deserve that in a subconscious way. Your conscious mind knows you don't, but down here you feel you do because you're still identifying with that trauma because it's a way of trying to protect yourself. If I don't forget about that trauma or if I, stay connected to it, I can always make sure I'm aware of what might harm me and this, that, and the third, but it's really caused you to self-sabotage your own results. This is also why if you are fortunate enough to leave that one toxic relationship, you wind up right back in another one because your mind is looking out for ways to pull you right back into what your comfort zone is, your uncomfortable comfort zone. Toxicities become your comfort zone because you're identifying with it. You don't know anything but that. And this is also why when someone that has past trauma like this does come across a really healthy partner, someone that could be great for them, and they're like, oh my gosh, this person's perfect, they find a way to self-sabotage it. Right? They either start second guessing or questioning that person's authenticity on loving them, right? Because they can't believe it because in their mind, by their self-identity, based off of their trauma, this person not allowed to love me all this way and it to feel this good without there being any, hidden agendas or they're not trying to actually manipulate me. It can't be this transparent and real. That doesn't match for me because I'm this hurt person that no one loves or no one really ever really cared for. That's who I am. So you can't be real. And no matter how much you want that love from that person that's right there in front of you, you self-sabotage it because you can't believe in that just yet, right? It doesn't match your identity. It's uncomfortable for you because you're not used to what healthy actually feels like and what healthy actually is, right? That's foreign to you. So then you go back to what your comfort zone is, which is the toxicity, even though it doesn't feel good, and you wind up walking away from that person. Or you create something in your mind, some narrative, or you find some problem to create that pushes you away from them so you can go back out here and align again and be attracted to what your comfort zone is. This is why it's paramount that we take care of our past baggage, traumas, and wounds before you go to get into new relationships. You have to take the time to yourself to do that healing. And the number one thing you need to focus on when it comes to dealing with past trauma is disassociating with it. See, people try to go heal this trauma, but really there's no trauma to heal if you don't align with that trauma. Did whatever happened to you back in the past really happen? Yeah, it probably did, right? Did someone maybe not care to a certain degree they should have? Maybe not. But the conclusions you came to about yourself as a result of it, that's what the issue is. That's what you have to sever the connection between and disassociate with that past trauma. Yeah, maybe that person back then didn't love you, right? But it was that person, not a reflection on everybody. Maybe that person back then did treat you really poorly, but it wasn't because you weren't worth being treated well. It's because they had voids and internal hurt in themselves so much that it was a hurt person hurting someone else, right? When you learn to see your past with more clarity versus how you've chosen to interpret it as a result of your experience, it's a game changer for you. So if you have past traumas, I want you to take some time to yourself, right? To sit, reflect on the past things that you identify as the traumas that you have and that you deal with. And I want you to write down all the narratives that you feel are accurate about you as a result of them. And after you get them all down, I want you to write why they're all a lie. Challenge them all. And I want you to go and look through the other experiences you have in life, right? The things your mind has not been focusing on. And I want you to lay out all the tangible results you've gotten in life that actually support those things being a lie. That actually disproves that whatever that situation was not determining of your value and what you're deserving of going forward, right? Maybe, yes, that person didn't love you a certain way, but it just meant they didn't love you because maybe they couldn't offer the love. They couldn't give what they didn't have. But it didn't mean you weren't love worthy, but you are because of X, Y, Z, because of how you show up in other people's lives and what you mean to them and how they pour love into you and what you think about that, right? I want you to challenge those lies and disassociate with what doesn't actually fit you. If you want help learning how to use these tools to actually go into that past and heal that trauma and those voids and those wounds so it doesn't continue to self-sabotage your relationship results, either email me or DM me coaching and we will get to work. Let's get it.